them. And there's a saying is never underestimate a man's ability to justify his wrongs. So you're not going to convince anybody that, oh, what you're doing is wrong and they're going to change. But all I'm saying is, it kind of sucks that here the sheriff is going to jail for essentially, saying, no, it's my jail. This is how I want to do it. If I want to be a little rough on the guys, so be it. But, of course, if those guys are caught, whoever's doing it should have to go to jail. That's just the way it is. But, I'm sure he is callous to what he was doing over the years. He probably got away with something. And the more you get away with, the more you think you can get away with, the more it feels like less of a sin because you're just numb to it. It's just like being in the bathtub or where there's hot water. You get used to it. It feels normal after a while. And so it's tough because I don't know if I wouldn't do the same thing. If I was vested in, hey, I want to do things this way because I think it's more effective, and then somebody's trying to undermine you, the government, you feeling like you're the most powerful person around, it's hard to acquiesce to somebody else telling you what to do and when to do it, especially if you feel you're right. But there is a problem now, and to everybody saying, he was bad. You don't want the cops to say, you know what, I am not getting anywhere by patrolling and being hard on the criminals and being bad to bad guys, because then guess what they're going to do? They're going to stay in the good neighborhoods where there's no problems. They're going to write tickets because it's very scientific, and they're going to stay in maybe certain areas when they write those tickets that y'all may not like, and it's just so that's a bad thing too. And I think what people have to understand is when you're in a society with a lot of people, you can't think of what's good for you. You have to think of what's good for society, because ultimately that's good for you. If we want to get on the cops because there are a certain percentage of cops that beat people, but you take those cops out, even though they're the bad ones, then you're going to have bad people beating bad people at a lot higher rate, because if that wasn't the case, nobody would call the cops. People aren't stupid. They know the math. My friends that grew up my brother-in-law grew up in Compton, and him and I go back and forth, and I think I mentioned this before, with all the stuff that he has against, my values and my beliefs, he moves to areas that have my values and beliefs. It's because, you look at a city, and you just, you look at the people in the city, and it's not race or anything like that. It's values. You look at a group like Irvine, California, a lot of Asians there, a lot of Arabs, I should say, and guess what? There are Indians, even family members that have husband and wife. The majority of them have a nuclear family, and it equals better cities, because now you got dads checking on the kids, making sure, you got moms making sure that the kids are doing all the stuff they're supposed to be doing at school and the other activities, and they don't have time to screw up. And if they screw up, the dad's gonna rip their head off. And I've seen it. I mean, it's almost militant. I mean, I think in some cases it may take away from the relationship of the parents, but ultimately it's, all things being equal, compared to the other extreme is neglect. You have, kids that ultimately the police become their parents, because somebody's got to be the parent, and if it ain't going to be the parents, it's going to be the government, and that usually means you're going to be trying to sneak a cell phone for the FBI into prison. So you have these areas, and it's like, okay, sure, I talk to these people. A lot of them they think they're royalty. They're very materialistic. I mean, they have their hang-ups too, but you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And just because you don't like the way certain things about them, you don't throw everything everything that's good out the window as well. Otherwise you're not going to have a good society. If you just do what's comfortable, well, sometimes what's comfortable is not the best thing, because you look at all these drug addicts that died. It's because they're around people that made them feel comfortable about doing drugs. They enabled them. And I think we can get that way as a society. If you feel like, your kids are in jail, and your kids are in jail, and I'm just going to talk to other people that, that hate the cops, and, okay, well, your city is getting so bad around you, you may not know it because it's little by little, but when I go into Watts or whatever, if I got to get gas, man, it jumps out at me like a tiger. It just pops at you because you have, this thing has been spiraling down for so long, and a lot of people don't see it, but these areas are nothing like they were. And I don't care why they got, I mean, let's say it was a bunch of race, whatever the excuses. The bottom line is whatever's going on ain't working, and it has to be turned around. And guess what? To turn things around, it's uncomfortable, but anything that's going to better you is going to be uncomfortable. If it wasn't, everybody would do it. But if you only did what everybody did, it wouldn't be special, it wouldn't be rare. So basically, what I'm saying is we need to be special and do what we, not what we want to do, but what we should do. Hey guys, we love sugar. Sugar tastes good. Problem is, it's causing obesity, it's linked to type 2 diabetes, so we switch over to artificial sweeteners, which at a certain level become bitter, and now it's linked to early dementia. In fact, if you're drinking diet sodas on a regular basis, you're 10 times more likely, studies say, in getting early dementia. So we have a sugar, it's called Next Sugar. It tastes great. It's as sweet as sugar. It's 100% on the sweetness index. Yes, there is an index for that. And guess what? It's half the calories, guys. You can bake with it, try it, get going, do your thing. All right, so yeah, basically, just with what's going on with the Lee Baca, the sheriff and a former sheriff of Los Angeles, it's amazing how you have the sheriff of Los Angeles, and then a few years before that, the sheriff of Orange County, the neighboring county, Sheriff Corona, he got locked up for, I think he was taking bribes and gifts and whatever else. And it's just, you got the top guys that are going to prison. I mean, they're doing some hard time, and it does show you that, hey, it's what did Abraham Lincoln say? If you were in the guy's shoes with the exact same circumstances, you'd probably do the same thing. And I think when you get these guys that are in power, they're all doing the same thing. And I hope that I wouldn't. And what the thing that's worked for me to stay out of any sort of what do you call it? Oh God, my brain's just fried. It must be Monday. When you're tempted like that, and you start to, when you first have corruption creep in, the thing that's worked for me is stopping it right out the gate. Tommy Lasorda said, the way to put out a fire is to stomp it out as soon as it starts. And he was talking about like gossip and bad attitude in the locker room. So I've had it to where guys would come up to me and say, hey, can you do this job? And these guys were working for a big contracting company, and these were kind of the guys that were in the office, and they said, do this job, pad it a little bit. I give the guy money, and because I deserve it, I've worked hard and I don't get any money, and of course they justify it. And I just said sorry. And any time that I was in to where I felt like, okay, if I didn't do this work, the contractor was going to lose money because I'm good. So all I would do is I would just do extra. I would eat the money. You know what I mean? I would just somehow take the money and not take it, but I would pay the guy, almost just like, here's some cash, but I wouldn't overcharge the person, and I would tell him that, so he wouldn't feel comfortable coming up to me again. I took a loss. I just did it for less money, but it's just because you have to be practical about it. You got to make sure it's legal too, what you're doing, because you're not allowed to, as a contractor, take bribes. So, you find out whatever, you want to walk that line as close as you can, but, it's just the old law, do unto others. And, if you don't stop that from the very beginning, it will become a problem. And that's with anything, if it's the very beginning, because once you start doing it, gets easier. And, the important thing though, is to know you can take those same laws of starting something that's kind of hard and getting easier and apply them to bettering yourself, because as you start to do things that are hard at first, and ultimately you see improvements, it gets easier, and basically you're going down the road of getting better, and it's part of your habit now, and you can apply that to every part of your life.